keep the club alive. It's a great pleasure and honor to have with us today a friend and colleague, Professor Stephen Chuang from the Chemical Engineering of the University of Akron, Ohio. Stephen is a catalytic man with a lot of nice contributions for a long time, so hopefully today we'll learn some more about his hydrogen work. A very brief background. Steve got his diploma in chemical engineering from National Taipei Institute in '77. He got his master from New Jersey Institute of Technology in '82 and PhD from the University of Pittsburgh in '85. Then he joined University of Akron. He became a very fast professor, and he has been chairman for 8 years, and it seems he's very tired already. He wants to leave the job. Being a chairman is not easy. He has been doing a lot of great things in the area of catalysis. He has over 90 different publications in international journals. He worked in the areas of isotope synthesis, hydroformylation, carbonylation, nitric oxide decomposition, reduction, city catalyst, CO2 capture, methane reforming, fuel cells, and many more, including photocatalysis. So it's a great pleasure to have Steve today, and he's going to talk to us about his work in hydrogen. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank Peter for the invitation. It's a great pleasure for me to discuss with you about my recent work on hydrogen production. And I'm really happy to see the old friends, and a number of you I've been known for so many years. I've been at University of Akron for 18 years. But the 18 years, in fact, is like 5 days, you know. And in fact, among these 5 days, 1 day is assistant professor, you know, you do whatever people taught you. 1 day is associate professor, you got a little privilege, then you can arrange it, decide what class you like to teach and when you can offer the class. And then 1 day become a full professor, then you are not afraid of anybody else. And then become chair, and first day become a chair, then you got a lot of trouble, and after 8 years of chair, nobody give you any trouble. But the life is just like assistant professor because we all struggle for research funding. And the reason I was in this various research area is simply because of funding. In late '80s, we catch the last trend of the tristates in the academia research. And later on, we didn't catch the trend of methane conversion in late '80s and early '90s. In early '90s, we do catch the trend of the nitric oxide decomposition, so that's why we do the research in that area. In late '90s, there are areas of the CO2 conversions, and those kind of areas we also working simply because of funding in those areas. First of all, here I'd like to thank the student Bob Stevens and Philip A. for doing the research in these areas. And most of these research are supported by small grants from University of Akron and also Ohio border region. We haven't really got a major research grant in hydrogen production yet. Oh, we do. We do have one from his investment fund. I forgot about that. The reason why we are interested in DOE is interested in hydrogen production is simply because hydrogen is considered as a clean fuel. Combustion of hydrogen produce water as a product, and electrochemical oxidation of hydrogen would produce electricity. For example, all the fuel cells, there are 6 types of fuel cells, from the top to the bottom: phosphoric acid, alkaline fuel cell, molten carbonate fuel cell, proton exchange membrane fuel cell, solid oxide fuel cell. All these fuel cells work very well when they use hydrogen as fuel. And there are two most common type of fuel cell is proton exchange membrane fuel cell, and the other one is solid oxide fuel cell. And this type of fuel cell, there has been a lot of research in this area, and hydrogen is considered as an ideal fuel for these fuel cell, especially for proton exchange membrane, which only run on pure hydrogen. As you know, the carbon monoxide concentration above 10 ppm, then those carbon monoxide can poison the anode catalyst of the proton exchange membrane fuel cell. Proton exchange membrane fuel cell usually operate below 100 degrees C. It's considered a low temperature fuel cell, which give a very high current density. The current density for the proton exchange membrane fuel cell usually is around 2 to 3 N per square centimeter. The solid oxide fuel cell is operate high temperature, and hydrogen can serve as fuel, carbon monoxide can serve as fuel. And I want to point out here is the solid oxide fuel cell. The solid oxide fuel cell, that in anode, the oxygen is being converted to oxygen anion, and oxygen anion is diffused through the membrane, and then to go to the cathode, then the electrochemical oxidation takes place on cathode. At the end, I will talk a little bit about fuel cell because there's a major research area we have been working on in the last year and a half. So I want to start on the research of fuel cell because simply hydrogen will be used as a fuel, for fuel cell here. And the key problem in the proton exchange membrane is the membrane is very expensive, the catalyst activity is not high enough, and the endocatalysts tend to be poisoned by CO. Solid oxide fuel cell work pretty well, but the problem here is the operating temperature is pretty high, and there's a need to decrease the temperature of operation of solid oxide fuel cell. And all this fuel cell is limited by the ion diffusion across the membrane. So there's a need to make this membrane as thin as possible. And these are the slides taken from the basic research needs for hydrogen economy published by Department of Energy last year. And they pointed out there are 4 key challenges in the development of the hydrogen economy. The first one here, it seems there's a barrier everywhere. The first one here, there's a need to decrease the cost of fuel cell. And the fuel cell they talk about here is a proton exchange membrane fuel cell for transportation. Proton exchange membrane fuel cell is a polymer membrane, so it's very stable. However, the membrane and catalysts are very expensive. So there's a need to decrease the cost of the catalyst. Catalyst for this fuel cell is platinum, and platinum, as you all know, is a noble metal, which is very expensive. Solid oxide fuel cell is a ceramic material, so it's only most of the time it's being used for stationary power generation or used for truck, where there's no rapid acceleration or rapid change in usage of electricity. So most of the time when we talk about a fuel cell for transportation are the proton exchange membrane fuel cell. And there's also need to decrease the cost of the production of hydrogen. Currently, the price of hydrogen is 4 times more expensive than gasoline per energy, per BTU basis. And there's also the need to figure out how to store hydrogen. So in order to develop a hydrogen economy, there are so many problems. There are problems in production, problem in storage, and problem in distribution, and problem in end use, which is involved with the use of fuel cells. So it's apparently this is a long way to go. As I know, some of people say hydrogen research bubble has collapsed, and simply because there are a number of companies which try to commercialize the hydrogen production technology. And I remember there is a company which is recently bankrupt. One of our former students worked for that company, and the company bankrupt, so the students will try to look for another job. So it seems we don't know how long it's going to this hydrogen technology is going to be really commercialized. There are basically two approaches for producing hydrogen. One is the direct splitting of water to produce hydrogen and oxygen. And since hydrogen water is very, very low energy here, so it's require we need to put energy in, and the energy can be put in the heat, or photo energy, or photovoltaic electrolysis. And this approach is a very difficult process. I will briefly talk about it. And there's another approach, it's much easier, is using the carbon as a reactant. So you will involve with the reforming of the hydrocarbon or carbon fuel. The problem with using carbon or hydrocarbon as a species to react with water to produce hydrogen is this kind of process also produce carbon dioxide. And as you know, the carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas, and Department of Energy is trying to develop a program to sequester the CO2. And they hope there's some calculation in order to be commercialize this carbon sequestration technology. The technology must be cost less than $9 per ton of CO2 sequestered. So in fact, it's going to be a very difficult process here. Most of the CO2 sequestration technology now they cost more than $100 or $1,000 per ton of CO2. So, however, this is a much easier way to produce the hydrogen through the reforming of water gas shift reaction to produce the hydrogen. So today's talk, I'm going to focus on this part, the easy part. The difficult part here, I will point out what is the major challenge in this area of water splitting. So let me start with the water splitting here. The leader in this research area is Professor Kudo at the Science University of Tokyo, and there's another fellow at the Tokyo Institute of Technology, Professor Doman. So the Japanese has been dominant in this research area, and in order to find a catalyst for water splitting or photocatalytic splitting of water, there's a need to identify the catalyst. And the first step to select the catalyst for water splitting is to check the thermodynamic requirements. This is a slide taken from Professor Kudo's presentation, so I just take it out from him. This is a water reduction process to produce hydrogen, and here is a water oxidation process to produce oxygen here. So this is the valence band, this is conduction band. So the catalyst must be a wider this band gap here, which will allow the electron to transport from the conduction band. In fact, this is the reduction step. This is the oxidation step. In order to transport the electron from the conduction band to react with proton to produce hydrogen, to reduce the water. And the electron generated from oxidation must be able to transport to this valence band here. There are three types of catalysts which has been used for the water splitting. One is a semiconductor material. The material just says pure semiconductor. And the other type of material is a semiconductor doped with the metal. And one idea about doping the metal here is there are a lot of theory which suggests that doping the metal can help to trap the electron and assist the separation of the hole and electron here. In order to have this photocatalytic reaction take place, this semiconductor material must be able to absorb the photo energy and to generate electron and hole. And this electron and hole, once generated, the electron and hole, electron will be going to reduce the water to hydrogen, and to reduce water here to oxygen. And the hole will be oxidizing the water to form oxygen. And then, so the first type of the material is a semiconductor material. The second type of material is doping the metal. And the third type of the material which is being proposed is doping two types of material on the semiconductor. One serves as an oxidation side, one serves as a reduction side. And there's also a new proposed here is to produce a hydrogen to using a membrane here, and in this case will be an electron conducting membrane, so that reduction will be taking place in one side of the membrane, oxidation will be taking place in the other side of the membrane, so that hydrogen and oxygen, when they produce, they can separate, so there is no need for a separation process. And the problem with all these type of catalysts here is the reaction is very slow. We have been trying to run this reaction for the last 5 or 6 years, and we have never been succeed. We always produce a very small amount of hydrogen, and the amount of hydrogen is really beyond our instrumentation ability. It's really within the experimental errors of our GC. And if you look at lead ratio, the rate of the best catalyst for hydrogen production, in fact, is this type of catalyst. This is the best type of catalyst. The rate of production of these hydrogens from this best catalyst is about 4 orders of magnitude smaller than the rate of the Fischer-Tropsch synthesis over iron catalyst. 4 orders of magnitude. I just did a calculation 3 days ago and tried to figure out the rate, and it's 4 orders of magnitude smaller than the rate of the Fischer-Tropsch synthesis. In Fischer-Tropsch synthesis, the rate of product formation, like the rate of methane formation, hydrocarbon formation, will be about in the order of 1 to 10 mole per gram per hour, so per kilogram per hour catalyst. In this case, this will be the best catalyst for water catalytic water splitting is about 4 orders of magnitude or small. So the rate is very small, and we haven't given up the research yet, but we don't have good results to talk about, even though this research has been funded for 4 or 5 years. And in fact, 3 days ago, we found out maybe our light source has a problem, so we decided to change the light source now, and hopefully we can get it working. All right, so the water splitting by using the photo energy is a very difficult process, and it's hard to find a catalyst. And on the other hand here, the reforming of the coal, reforming of hydrocarbon, reforming of methane, in fact, it's a much easier process to be studied. Certainly, I haven't done any much of economic evaluation, but in terms of academic research, if you want to carry out a reaction in research lab and try to develop catalysts, the reforming reaction, in fact, is a much easier reaction to be studied since there are so many catalysts being studied and there are so many catalysts involved for this reaction. So we decided to spend some time to study this reaction. And this reforming reaction also related to fuel cell because a lot of time we have to use hydrogen as a fuel, and hydrogen certainly is a very expensive fuel. So it would be nice if we can use the carbon fuel or hydrocarbon as a fuel. And when you use this carbon or hydrocarbon as fuel, you may need to reform this carbon or hydrocarbon to form the hydrogen to serve as a fuel for these fuel cell. So this is simply a picture taken from the Smarty website, which shows there is a plenty of fossil fuel available for reforming to generate hydrogen. And I just want to point out again, reforming of this fossil fuel will generate a huge amount of CO2, and there's a need to sequester CO2, but apparently there's no simple, low-cost approach to sequester CO2 at this moment. So the catalyst certainly play a significant role in the hydrogen, in pushing the forward toward the hydrogen economy. The catalyst plays a significant role in hydrogen production, in the end use for the converting the hydrogen to the electricity and water. So catalysts play a very significant role here. So in this presentation, I would like to focus on the reforming reaction. And in this presentation, I'd like to talk about CO2 reforming and partial oxidation to generate hydrogen. The reason I work on these two reactions is simply these are two very simple reactions to be studied. And steam reforming, water gas shift, or reforming reaction involved with water is a little more difficult to study because you have to inject water to the reactor. And in our research, we use a mass spectrometer and gas chromatograph to monitor the product stream. And the water's boiling point is 100 degrees C, so you have heat tracing on the 9. If you don't heat trace the 9, water will build up and flood the experimental system. So running the reforming reaction, in fact, is not a very easy task. It's much easier to run the CO2 reforming and partial oxidation here to generate hydrogen. So I will discuss with you about these two reactions. I also have some result on this reaction, but I will touch on this type of reaction here. So the first set of reaction I'd like to discuss with you is the CO2 reforming, and I would like to discuss with you how we study this reaction and what is the reaction mechanism for these reactions. So in this case here, we study this reaction using the rhodium catalyst. And the reason we use the rhodium catalyst here is rhodium is considered as one of the most active catalysts, and rhodium don't have a coking problem compared with the nickel catalyst. So rhodium, although it may be very expensive, but it may last forever. So as a result, it's nice to study this reaction. And we happen to have this rhodium catalyst in our lab. We have been running the rhodium catalyst for a long time. So since we know this rhodium pretty well, so we started the reforming reaction on the rhodium catalyst here. And so this rhodium catalyst is prepared by traditional impregnation methods, and they calcine it and reduce it. And the tool we studied the reaction on this catalyst, we focus on studying how these reactant adsorb on the catalyst surface and how these adsorbed species on the catalyst surface converted to the product. And the key tool we use to study these reactions is infrared spectroscopy. And let me briefly touch on the infrared spectroscopy here. Here's a carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is a polar molecule, and you can view this as a vibrating dipole here. There's a slightly positive charge in the carbon, and slightly negative charge on oxygen here. So you can consider this as a vibrating dipole. And the wave number of this vibration is around 2150 here. And if the infrared has a wave length around if the infrared, which is a vibration wave number, is same as the vibration wave number of the carbon monoxide, then those infrared will be absorbed. So in this case, the infrared can be absorbed by this vibrating dipole to give absorption band here. And you can see this bizarre absorption band here simply due to a PR branch. And there are these two branches of absorption band simply due to the interaction of the vibration and rotation. So you can, which result into these two branch. And once this carbon monoxide absorbed on the catalytic surface, for example, in this case, absorbed on the reduced volume surface, then it will give you only one band. In this case, the vibration wave number is around 2110 or 2020 here, and you can see there is no vibrational, there is no rotational component here, so there is only one vibration component here. And the wave number, the vibration wave number shift from 2150 down to around 2050 here. Simply they are electron transport from the triple bond to build a bonding between carbon and rhodium. So infrared is a very good tool here to study how the reactant absorb on the catalytic surface and to characterize the catalytic surface. Especially for CO absorption in rhodium, is a very good tool here. I just want to quickly point it out here. The CO can absorb on rhodium surface in linear form, bridge form, gem-like linear form. If the rhodium is in the oxidized state, then you will absorb the rhodium, absorb the CO in the gem-like linear form. And certainly there's a lot of carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide can absorb on catalytic surface. Most of the time, the carbon dioxide will absorb on the oxide support surface to form various types of carbonate. Especially on serious type of the oxide, CO can absorb in various forms of the carbonate. And hydrocarbon can also absorb on the surface to form like the species like the methyl species on rhodium surface. So the infrared is an ideal tool here to characterize the catalytic surface under radiation condition, simply because infrared can penetrate through this reactant environment, and this treatment, whatever reactant absorbed on the surface, if it's in the polar form, which can be detected by infrared. And in this case, if the rhodium is in the reduced state, it's going to produce a CO with this with a wave number above 200. If rhodium is in the oxidized state, then it's going to give you the gem-type carbonyl species. So in this case here, in the reforming reaction, reforming of the hydrocarbon or carbon, the major products from this reforming reaction are hydrogen and carbon monoxide, and sometimes they are carbon dioxide. And once carbon monoxide is produced on the surface, which can be detected by infrared, and we can use this infrared to determine the residence time of this species on the catalytic surface, and also use this infrared vibration frequency to see what type of catalytic surface we have. So let's go back to this tool here. We use a diffuse reflectant spectroscopy here. This is a commercial reactor cell, and students like to use this simply because it's very simple and very easy to operate, and this is very common. And a lot of research groups have this kind of diffuse reactants reactors. The catalyst can be packed in here with about 20 to 30 milligram here. The heater is in the center here, so this glass here is being cold by cooling water. So this is, you can consider this cold wall reactor here. And you have a lot of hydrocarbon or the heavy water species sometimes can condense on the glass wall here. So you can put about 20 milligrams of catalyst in the reactor here. And in our study, we put the 20 milligrams of the catalyst in the reactors, and we also put about 80 milligrams of catalyst in cubic reactor here. So we put extra catalyst here so that we can produce enough product which can be detected by mass spectrometer or gas chromatographer. And the one technique we like to use, we have been using in our lab for studying the mechanism of reaction is the transient technique. In fact, Mike Bolago was the first student who developed this technique about 16 or 17 years ago. And without him, we will never get to the stage. Because I remember I have a graduate student who used to sit in front of mass stack and sit there for 9 months and don't know what to do. And Mike joined my group, and then he got it working within 3 weeks. So in this technique here, the key technique here is using infrared to take a look at what species absorb on catalytic surface, and using that spectrometer to monitor the products. And we also have a number of plots here to introduce the change in the reactant concentration. For example, we use a 4-pole bar here to make a step switch from one stream to another stream. We can also use a 6-pole bar GC7 to make a pulse change in the reactant concentration here. And we can vary the pulse bar here to decide what amount of species we introduce. So we run this is the result of the reforming reaction of CO2 and methane over alumina loading supported on alumina. And the weight percentage of loading on the catalyst is, the loading percentage is about 4% here. So this is simply we heated up the reactor and we produce, this is simply a product of conversion of CO2 to methane. Converting the CO2 to methane is not usually one-to-one simply because they are reverse water gas shift reaction involved. So the first thing we did here is run this reaction over loading catalyst and determine the activation energy and compare the activation energy with literature value to make sure our loading catalyst is active. And after that, we start to play with the tracing technique to study how this reaction, to try to figure out how this reaction taking place on the catalyst surface. In this case here, we throw in the CO2 over the catalyst surface, then pause 1 cc of carbon methane into the reactor. And so let's take a look at what happened when we pausing this methane into the CO2 stream. If we take the CO2 passing through the catalyst surface, we have CO2 on the surface. We don't have CO2, usually CO2 don't absorb on the catalyst surface. We see the CO2. Once we pause 1 cc of methane in, once the methane enters to the reactor, we start to see the methane promote the formation of adsorbed CO. And as this pause of the methane enters to the reactor, we also see the product formation by the mass spectrometers. Here, as you can see here, the methane will coming in, and the first species produced from this reforming reaction, in fact, is hydrogen. And hydrogen come out first, and CO come out. Alright, so from this result here, we can see the formation of hydrogen, in fact, is a quite easy step on this reaction here. Formation of hydrogen is always lead the CO formation. CO formation is slower than the hydrogen formation. So by using this pause technique, we can see which step is faster, which step is slower. And it's nice to use the mass spec here. And then I want to point out here, the time scale is a minute here. So this catalytic reaction, in fact, is not taking place very fast. So that's why we can catch it by the mass spectrometer here. So from here, we can see methane coming in, promote the formation of CO. So the CO coming up, maybe CO, we don't see any adsorbed CO2 on the surface. But once methane is coming in, the oxygen on the CO2 can be easy to pull out and to generate CO, which is immediately formed on the catalyst surface. And that oxygen comes from the hydrogen, comes from CO2, promote the formation of hydrogen. So we can pause the CO2 into methane and pause methane to CO2 using this trait here to determine which one is forming first. And we also use the isotopic tracing technique here by switching from one species of, for example, like 12 CO2 species to 13 CO2 species here to determine how fast the switching taking place and how long does this adsorbed CO stay on the catalyst surface. So this is not a very good result here, but we can see there's a switch from linear CO of the 12 CO to the 13 CO, and we can compare the response here. The response here, we can see the CO2 is coming down, 12 CO2 is coming down, and 12 CO is coming down, and 13 CO2 is going up, and the 13 CO is coming out. So there's a lag here. There's a lag for the formation of 13 CO. This lag indicate it give you the indication of the CO does absorb in the catalyst surface. It takes time for conversion of this 13 CO2 to CO. So this isotopic tracing technique can help us determine how long this adsorbed CO stay on the catalyst surface. So we also use the pause technique. In fact, this pause technique was also developed by Mike 16 or 17 years ago. And the reason we like to use a pause technique here is simply because in pause technique we will use a small amount of isotope, and isotope is quite expensive, so we play with different tricks here. And using the pause technique here, we replace the 13 CO2 with the 12 CO2, and we can find out this delay here. And that delay, the racing time is about 1.1 second. And by using this simple first order equation here, we can determine how much adsorbed CO is actually on the catalyst surface. So this is simply an exercise to determine the racing time of species on the catalyst surface here. And we also studied using oxygen and pause here, because we know if we send the oxygen in, we can do the partial oxidation of the methane. And we may have a mixed reforming reaction taking place. And I'd like to point out why we like to do the oxygen pulse. The reason is here, we like to keep the catalyst surface in the reduced state. We know in most of reforming reaction take place on the reduced catalyst surface. So if we put too much oxygen in, then we tend to oxidize methane to form CO2 and water. So we like to control the small amount of oxygen sending the small amount of oxygen into the reactor. But it's so hard to control the oxygen into the reactor because the flow rate we run in this reaction is CO2 and methane. The flow rate is 15 cc per minute of CO2, 15 cc per minute of methane. And if we want to send 2 cc per minute of oxygen in, it's very difficult because 2 cc per minute is really the lower limit of our mass flow meter. So we cannot send a small amount of oxygen in there. And the oxygen tend to oxidize the filament of the mass bag. So the filament of mass bag tend to be burned out by these oxygen here. So we often like to run the any reaction with oxygen in the pulse manner. We control the limited amount of oxygen into the reactor. So in this case, we pulse the oxygen in, and let's see what happens if we pulse the oxygen into the reactor here. The first one here is, let's see, when we have a 15 cc per minute of CO2 and methane, CO2 and 15 cc per minute of methane flowing through the reactor, and we pulse 1 cc of oxygen in. So when methane and CO2 wash through the reactor, there are linear CO and bridge CO on the surface already was being produced. Then if we pulse the oxygen in, this oxygen will come in to oxidize the absorbed CO on the catalyst surface. And in fact, this oxygen coming in enhances the formation of linear CO. You can see that this peak here is much about 20% or 30% higher than the initial linear CO band here. So the oxygen coming in indeed promote the formation of CO. And if we follow the mass spectrometer here, we'll see that when oxygen coming in, this triangle is oxygen coming in, is induced immediately the CO2 formation. After CO2 is being formed, then we see the formation of hydrogen and the formation of the CO here. This is CO, this is hydrogen. Again, we can see in this reforming reaction, in the reforming of methane by CO2, hydrogen formation is a much easier step. The methane can be easy to be activated and to generate hydrogen here. So this is a very simple proposed mechanism here. We put a reaction scheme here. I don't want to go into detail because we don't have enough evidence. Simply from our pulsing study, we found out methane in the forming of methane by CO2, hydrogen formation step is a rapid step, and the absorption of CO, in fact, is a rate limiting step. So we always see the absorbed CO on the catalyst surface. And this is a TEM study of the rhodium catalyst. The rhodium particle size we have before and after, the dark spot, those are the rhodium particle size, rhodium particle. And you can see after the reaction, the used catalyst, there's a formation of rhodium particle. So rhodium particle is become bigger. So with this, I'd like to summarize the first part of my talk here is we propose here that the desorption of CO to be a slow step here. And there's a lot of literature suggestion here that methane activation has been proposed and rate determined step. In our result here, we found, in fact, hydrogen formation is not really a rate determined step here. So, so in order to figure out whether activation of methane is rate determined step here, we also try to study the partial oxidation. I want to share the partial oxidation result with you. This is the result of partial oxidation we did here. Again, we sent about 30 cc per minute of the methane flowing through the reactor. Then we pulse 1 cc of oxygen at 400 degree and 450 degree to 600 degrees C. Again, we make this oxygen pulse. Once we pulse through the oxygen here, we produce hydrogen. We deplete the methane. So you can see the mass spec profile going down, and we also see the CO formations. And as I pointed out, we have trouble to control the amount of oxygen into the reactor. So as a result, I asked the student to quickly pulse a lot of oxygen. Every minute, pulse 3 or 4 oxygen into the reactor, and to see how this continuous pulsing of this hydrogen continuous pulsing this oxygen here affect the formation of hydrogen here. And as you can see, initially when we pulse the oxygen here, the oxygen does not break through. Some of the oxygen apparently to be absorbed on the catalyst surface. and later on we start to break through. When oxygen is break through, that means there's a lot of extra oxygen coming out from the oven or the reactor here, and there's a lot of extra oxygen in the reactor. As a result, those oxygen is reacting hydrogen away here. And at higher temperature, and we see there's more water formation, and this is simply indicate the area below it. You can see how much hydrogen is being produced, how much methane is being degraded. The initial pause, we can see the pausing of this oxygen into methane to produce hydrogen and CO and also CO2. And let's take a close look at this spectrum here to see what happened and how fast this product is producing it. And let's compare the partial oxidation with the reforming reaction. Let's take a look at this reaction here. We have methane flowing, 30 cc per minute methane flowing and pausing the oxygen into the reactors. And this is the second pause result. So in the first pause, we generate CO on the surface already. Once we pause the oxygen in, immediately we see the depletion of the methane and also rapid formation of CO2 and also depletion of the adsorbed CO on the surface. And let's take a look at the mass spec result here. This is the evolution of the product coming out from the reactor. Once the oxygen is coming in, immediately we see the CO formation of CO2. Following the CO2 formation, surprisingly, we see the formation of CO instead of hydrogen. So in the partial oxidation reaction here, what we found here, CO is forming first, and hydrogen is forming later. So this result clear suggesting, for some reason, hydrogen is stick on the catalyst surface longer than the CO, and hydrogen is slowly produced. And when this methane is activated, the oxygen immediately attacks the C to form the CO. So this is a very interesting result here. Let's compare with the reforming reaction. In the reforming the methane with CO2, we always see the hydrogen come out first. In the partial oxidation reaction, we see the CO come out first. And in the previous result, when we put the oxygen into the methane and CO2 stream, we still see the hydrogen come out first. So there is a major difference between the reforming reaction, reforming the methane by CO2 and partial oxidation of methane. The major difference here is on the reforming reaction, the CO2 adsorbed on the catalyst surface, and its CO tend to strongly absorb on the catalyst surface. On the partial oxidation reaction, certainly CO is absorbed on the catalyst surface, but the CO is forming from the reaction of carbon and oxygen. And this step apparently is a much rapid process. As the oxygen is coming in, we see the immediate formation of CO here. And in the reforming reaction, CO is being formed, but if we put oxygen in, the oxygen will immediately react with CO. So there is a different way the CO was produced and consumed. And the CO concentration here certainly is much lower than the CO concentration in the reforming reaction of reforming of methane with CO2. So there is a different amount of the adsorbed CO and adsorbed oxygen on the catalyst surface here. So the CO formation is much easier in the partial oxidation. And this is at a higher temperature. Again, if we move the temperature higher, we still see the hydrogen is being produced behind the CO here. So this is the part of the result we just generated 3 weeks ago. So we are still trying to figure it out, to deliberate, try to figure out what the mechanism of the formation of these CO and H2 in the partial oxidation. But in general, the catalyst is going to be staying in the reduced state to be active catalyst, to be active for partial oxidation and for the reforming reaction. We do not see the formation of genuine ammonia on the catalyst surface. If we put a nitro oxide, if we put oxygen on the catalyst surface, nitro oxide is a very strong oxidant, and we can see a lot of genuine ammonia produced on the surface. But in this case here, we can clearly see the catalyst has to be in the reduced surface state in order to produce the partial oxidation product. Initially, when you pause the oxygen in, there are too much oxygen into the reactor, so there's a huge amount of CO2 is produced. So in order to do the partial oxidation, we need to control the amount of the oxygen and also control the amount of oxygen absorbed on the catalyst surface and keep the catalyst in the reduced state to produce the partial oxidation products. Recently, we also run the partial oxidation of propylene. And we found out if we put a hydrogen in fact, there are some research has been done in this area. If we put some reducing agent in the partial oxidation reaction, and those reducing agents tend to enhance the selectivity toward partial oxidation. In the partial oxidation of propylene, the major product will be acetone and propylene oxide, and the byproduct will be CO2. If you put the hydrogen in, put a small amount of hydrogen in to the partial in the reactant stream, you can see the hydrogen will promote the formation of the partial oxidation product and limit the formation of CO2. So the result of our partial oxidation effect is consistent with the partial oxidation method here. In this case here, at the beginning of the reaction, when oxygen just coming in, there's too much oxygen. The catalytic surface may not be in ideal reduced state yet. So there's not much of the visual product is oxidation CO2. Once this oxygen is leaving the surface, there are less amount of oxygen on the surface, the catalyst is becoming the reduced state, and there are more partial oxidation product is being produced. So this can be seen from this result here. There's a lot of this partial oxidation product is produced. Catalyst is in reduced state. And I remember when I reached this conclusion, and I go back to do a literature search, I found out Foreman, who is the one who wrote the book of reaction engineering. He has a paper in 1997 does point out partial reduced catalytic surface is responsible for the partial oxidation. And I was amazed by his proposal because he simply proposed this based on some of his experimental data which didn't really point out to that result. But he was able to propose the reduced catalyst is favorable for partial oxidation. So that proposal is consistent with our result. So at the end here, we can enhance the formation of hydrogen by putting the oxygen in, and we can put the hydrogen in by pausing the oxygen here to control the amount of oxygen into the reactor to promote the formation of hydrogen. But at this moment, we really didn't fine-tune this technique yet because we are not quite interested in the methane reforming, so that's why we didn't continue this work here. So this work basically stopped at this point. During the reforming reaction, we also add water in to see whether we can promote the formation of the hydrogen. So I'm not going to talk about that result here, but I'm going to summarize what the key observation we have here. In fact, this is really doesn't help much, but the basic conclusion we have here is we need to maintain the catalyst in the reduced state to promote the partial oxidation. The last topic, how many minutes do I have? 1 hour time already?
20, 15, 20.
What?
We like your talk, 15, 20.
Okay. The last part of talk I want to talk about here is the production of hydrogen from coal. Because Peter and I was trying to write some proposal in this area and never really get into that stage. And we have run some of the preliminary research on the hydrogen production from coal here. As you can see here, we can produce the hydrogen from the hydrocarbon, but we can also produce the hydrogen from the coal here. And what will be the S catalyst, and what can we do with the coal here? Coal certainly is the most abundant energy resources in the United States, and this is taken from NEPL Rita's talk. The coal can be last for another more than 200 years, so it would be nice if we can produce hydrogen from the coal. And the current technology for producing hydrogen is from the conventional gasification. In conventional gasification, syngas is produced through the combustion and steam reforming. Combustion generates energy, and the energy provided for the steam reforming reaction. In fact, Peter is proposed to generate the hydrogen from the steam reforming reaction and try to separate the combustion and steam reforming reaction here. If you mix these two reactions together, the excess oxygen can oxidize the product of the reforming reaction. So you sometimes, most of the time, you might be better off to separate the combustion stream and the steam reforming stream here. And if we can find a catalyst to catalyze these reactions, then we probably can decrease the temperature, and then the gasification probably can run in a much more effective manner. And in fact, there's a lot of research on catalytic gasification in 1970 and 1980s. And most of those research stopped simply because of catalyst deactivation and also difficult to separate the fly ash from the catalyst. So this reforming reaction, steam reforming, steam gas, coal gasification reactions research is almost completely stopped. And there are few researches being done in Japan and India or China at this moment, but most of research in the US has stopped already. So the coal certainly is a compound which can be used to upgrade the water to form the same gas here. And the idea here is we can find a catalyst to activate this water and to get this reaction going. And we can bring this reaction temperature down, and the gasification will become a very economic process. And what kind of catalyst will we use? There's a question here. And we decided to use the low-limit catalyst first. The low-limit catalyst is very expensive. And Mike and Virago and I had done some research on the nickel-manganese catalyst about in the early 90s. And we find out the nickel-manganese catalyst we had like a low-limit in fission probe synthesis. So we decided to try to use the nickel catalyst for steam reforming of the coal and to see how it works. All right. So let me share this result with you. In order to do the steam reforming, since we are in Ohio, we have to use Ohio coal to do this reaction study. And so we take the Ohio coal and heat it up to convert Ohio coal to coke. Because during the gasification, once this coal enters, if we just take this coal here and put it in the reactor, this coal will be heated. All the volatile species will be coming out. Only coke will stay in the reactor here. So our reforming reaction is really actually is a coke reactor of char or coke here with water. So we have to use, in order to study the catalytic reforming of coal, we should study the catalytic reforming of coke. So let me share one set of results with you. We take this sodium manganese nickel catalyst, which is a coal precipitate catalyst, which shown a very good activity in alcohol synthesis from CO hydrogenation. And we're going to test this catalyst to see how it works, whether it works well as reforming catalyst for the coal or not. So this is the data we collect. This reaction is carried out in high temperature oven, and we take the coke and heat it up in high temperature. We generate a lot of tar. And the idea here is to see whether this catalyst can reform the tar and also reform the coke or not. The catalyst is a manganese nickel catalyst, and this catalyst is prepared by coal precipitation. And start with a nickel nitrate, manganese nitrate, and adding the sodium carbonate. So the final form of catalyst in fact is the manganese oxide form and nickel oxide form, and also a lot of sodium carbonate for forming together. This catalyst indeed is a very good steam reforming catalyst. What we found here is we put the D2O, passing the D2O through this coke, and we generate a large amount of HD. The H is primarily comes from the coal, and which is still on the coal. And we also see a large amount of formation of D2 out of this reforming reaction. This data was taken about 2 or 3 years ago. And recently we have rerun it. We were able to reproduce the data. We found out, we were able to produce a CO and CO2. So for each mole of the D2 produced, we were able, we also produced 1 mole of CO, either 1 mole, either the amount of CO and CO2 added up together is about 1 mole. So finally we were able to do a material balance to show, it's possible to do the reforming of the coal by using this nickel manganese catalyst. And this nickel manganese catalyst is a coal precipitate catalyst here. It's very stable. The particle size does not grow during the reforming reaction simply because this nickel particle is being locked in with the manganese and sodium carbonate together. And sodium carbonate is known as a very good catalyst for coal gasification. So by luck, this catalyst happened to become a very good catalyst for coal gasification. So at this moment, we are testing this nickel manganese catalyst here, and hopefully, to write a proposal to Ohio Coal Development Office again, and to see whether we can get some funding. And there's a company in Boston who recently approached me, and he said they are very interested in coal gasification because they found out this company is venture capitalists. They've been working with a number of banks, and due to the rise in the cost of natural gas. The natural gas, I never pay attention about the gas field. And they told me, the natural gas price has been rising for 4 times in the last 5 years. So the the natural gas price is so expensive. So there are about 20 or 30 natural gas power plants went bankrupt. And once this, and all these natural gas power plants went bankrupt, and all these plants go back to the bank. Finally, I really understand what the bankrupt means. Bankrupt means everything go back to the bank. And this bank now has there's a group of this bank has 20 or 30 of these natural gas power plants. They don't know what to do with it. So they are looking for coal gasification technology. And they were interested in catalytic coal gasification. And we haven't had these catalysts, but we only, in the last several weeks, we just haven't been able to find out, we were able to do the mass balance. For each mole of water converted to hydrogen, there's also a mole of either CO or CO2 is produced. So catalytic coal gasification could be approached to enhance the formation of syngas, and this syngas can be used as a fuel for the gas turbine. But however, there's still a long way to go because the catalyst is going to be mixed with this fly ash after coal is being gasified. So how to separate this catalyst from the fly ash is a major problem. So in fact, there's a lot of negative opinion from utility. I talked to some of the utility company. They think the catalytic gasification of coal farming will never be realized because it's simply so difficult to separate the catalyst from the fly ash. All right, so at the end here, I want to conclude my talk with the fuel cell. This is a picture modified from this paper. I like this picture here simply because this organized all the fuel cell together and organize all the fuel together. And the paper is from Annual Research Material and published in 2003. And Stanley is a professor at, I think it's a Clinical College. His major research is the fuel cells. I've been following a lot of this fuel cell work here. And so he organized this diagram, and I modified it a little bit. So in this side here, I line up all the fuel cells. In this side here, I line up the fuel. Hydrogen is an ideal fuel for the fuel cell, especially for the proton exchange membrane. If hydrogen can be used as fuel, hydrogen certainly can be used as a fuel for all these fuel cells. If you move up the fuel cell from the bottom up here, this is a phosphoric acid fuel cell, this is molten carbonate fuel cell, this is sodium oxide fuel cell. So there are 4 types of fuel cell here. And I also added up hydrocarbon-based sodium oxide fuel cell, coal-based fuel cell here. Sodium oxide fuel cell is operated at temperature about 500 degrees C. Molten carbonate fuel cell, some of the molten carbonate fuel cell has been commercialized. And phosphoric acid fuel cells has been studied for a long time. The proton exchange membrane fuel cell cannot tolerate the carbon monoxide. So proton exchange membrane fuel cell is the highest current density. So it works very well when hydrogen is used as a fuel. But hydrogen got to be purified. So the hydrogen, where the hydrogen comes from? As I pointed out here, hydrogen can come from water splitting. But water splitting by photo or other techniques is very difficult. So hydrogen, the easiest way to get hydrogen is through the reforming. And if we reforming, we can reforming the coal, or we can reforming the liquid fuel or natural gas. So there are so many steps. The coal is certainly dirty fuel. So if you want to reform the coal to make the gas and to convert all the gas to hydrogen, so you go through a large number of states. As a result, as you can see, this hydrogen is going to be very expensive. So recently, there's also a lot of research activity here focusing on developing the sodium oxide fuel cell, because sodium oxide fuel cell can use hydrogen and carbon monoxide as a fuel. And currently, most of these fuel cells using nickel as catalyst. And all of this nickel tend to be poisoned by sulfur compound. So later on, there's a research done by Stanley and also Professor Gordy at the University of Pennsylvania, and Scott Bartlett at Northwestern, and Liu at Georgia Tech. They have been trying to develop a hydrocarbon-based fuel cell here, using direct hydrocarbon as a fuel. All right, and in this sodium oxide fuel cell here, there's an opportunity here to use a dirty fuel as direct fuel here. It's simply because in the sodium oxide fuel cell, to quickly point out how the sodium oxide fuel cell work here. In the sodium oxide fuel cell, there are 2 key reactions taking place in the sodium oxide fuel cell. One is generation of oxygen N9. This is taking place in the cathode. The oxygen will react with electron from external circuit to form the oxygen anion. And this oxygen anion is being formed on the cathode. And this oxygen anion can diffuse from electrolyte. And most common type of electrolyte is yttrium stabilized zirconium. And it can diffuse through this electrolyte at high temperature, a temperature of about 500 degrees C, then get to anode. Once you get to anode here, this anode can, once this oxygen anion can get to anode, it can oxidize various types of fuel. The most common type of fuel being used is hydrogen. So if hydrogen is here, the hydrogen can be reacted with oxygen anion to form the water. If we have carbon, then we can oxidize the carbon to form the CO2 and the electron here. And if we have methane, and certainly methane can be oxidized to form the CO2 and water and electron here. So solid oxide fuel cell theoretically can use any kind of fuel as anything which can be oxidized by oxygen anion can serve as a fuel. Currently, most of research is here focusing on the use of methane. There's a very little research using carbon here. Most of people don't believe carbon will work. And very fortunately, in the last 2 years, we have been testing the carbon. We found out carbon, in fact, can be a nice fuel. And one reason why we get into carbon here is simply we are not an expert in the solid oxide fuel cell. We have trouble to get all these fuel cells sealed well. And there's always an explosion hazardous in the lab. Because if we send the hydrogen in, we send the methane in, and heat it up at high temperature, and there's a chance the whole system can catch fire and cause the explosion. And in our lab, we have a lot of activating carbon, so we decided to use the carbon as a fuel to do the electrochemical oxidation. And after a number of studies, we found out a number of very good oxidation catalysts can serve as a catalyst for electrochemical oxidation. There's a difference between electrochemical oxidation catalyst and the regular oxidation catalyst. Regular oxidation catalyst can be metal oxide. In the electrochemical oxidation catalyst here, the catalyst must be staying in the catalyst must possess the electrical conductivity. All right. The reason here is once this oxygen anion oxide the fuel to generate an electron, the electron must be able to push out through to the external circuit. So the catalyst must contain the electron conductivity here, must be electrical conductive. And one of our major research areas now is solid oxide fuel cell, and we are trying to figure out how to design the anode and cathode. The cathode side here, we have cathode catalyst. We will have oxygen coming in, and then the external circuit, we need the electron to form the oxygen anion. Once oxygen anion is formed, then you will go through the anode here, and we will design the anode catalyst here to conduct the electrochemical oxidation. And as I pointed out here, this catalyst must be electron conductive in order to let the electron push out to the external circuit. So our research focus on here now is focus on how to design the nanostructure, the microstructure of this catalyst surface. And this research is very challenging because this layer material is very difficult to stick together. These are all different type of layer material here, and the thermal compatibility is an issue. If this material don't have the same thermal expansion coefficient, as we heat it up, this material always crack. So we have been cracking hundreds and thousands of this in our lab, and we haven't developed a very good fuel cell yet. But we do prove that we can use hydrocarbons or plastic or carbon as a fuel to generate electricity out of this fuel cell by modifying the catalyst. Currently, most of the catalyst is nickel or copper, and nickel definitely is not a very good electrochemical oxidation catalyst for using carbon as a fuel here. So with this, I'd like to conclude my talk here. Hydrogen certainly is a very valuable fuel here. It's a very expensive fuel here. But if we can use the carbon or other low-cost fuel to generate electricity, then we might be able to solve some of the bigger problems than just using coal as a direct fuel here. And using the coal as a fuel here, we can make the process much more effective. Because if we go through each stage here, we probably will lose 30 or 40% of the efficiency here. So in order to generate hydrogen out of for the photon exchange membrane fuel cell here, the efficiency may be less than 10 or 15% here, because we require go through so many stages here. And more stages we go through, the lower efficiency we'll get here. So at the end here, I'd like to conclude my talk with this slide here to point out the future making on coal here, and to generate electricity directly from the coal rather than going going through all this reforming to generate hydrogen, to generate electricity. And the reason we study all this hydrogen production process is simply for research publication. As a professor, we need to publish a paper, students need to publish a paper to get their thesis done. So we do all the simple reactions. And at this moment, we are struggling to make this fuel cell work to generate the electricity out of the carbon. So this is all what I have to discuss with you here today. I'll be happy to answer any questions and discuss with you.
Thanks, Steve, for the very.
We also did a study on nickel catalyst because we had to study a nickel for comparative study, and we put a nickel on serious oxide. And if we use a nickel as catalyst, we'll see a significant coking, just like everybody else. But if we use a rhodium, we never see the coking, and the catalyst just work well. That's the first question. The second question here is CO and H2 is all generated on the same catalyst surface, right? And nowadays we worry significantly less about the dead body, all right? Because we are not trying to model the result. We try to get a qualitative picture of how this reaction takes place. So CO and H2 is all generated on the catalyst surface, so they are all experience the same dead body. So when they come out, one come out faster than the others, and we know one species come out earlier. So we didn't get into the detail. When we do the modeling with Mike and a number of students 10 or 15 years ago, we do worry about their body. But now we only look at qualitative picture. And the argument I have here, we worry less about it simply because they all generally on same catalyst surface, they experience the same dead body, and there is a 1 or 2 seconds of difference there, and the mass spec was able to pick it up. And we also see the difference because in the reforming of methane, we see the hydrogen come out first. In the partial oxidation, we see the CO come out first. And in fact, I also have one result I didn't get a chance to present it here is in the partial oxidation of the propylene. And we also see the formation of acetone and propylene oxide. If we put the hydrogen in, the residence time of the acetone and propylene oxide will decrease. So that's a new finding we have found in the last 2 months.
Thank
you. Follow the second question you can have. Actually, I see two figures. One is at the 450, and the 600.
Yes.
Looks like the 600 had the time difference a little bit shorter than 450. Right?
Yes.
It's time temperature dependent.
That's right.
So when you actually the partial extension, usually you go to like 800, 900, even $1,100 or something. So the difference will be shorter and shorter, or what's your perspective?
As the temperature increase, the residence time of all species becomes shorter. So I want to give you a general statement about in-water spectroscopy study. When we design this reaction, right, let me tell you our mindset is we want to generate result for publication. Right? So we always want to see adsorbed species on catalyst surface. Right? And in order to see adsorbed species on catalyst surface, we like to run at low temperature. Right? But we also like to see adsorbed species and product at the same time. If we want to see the product, we like to run at high temperature. So we start to play with it at different conditions. So at low temperature, the species stay on the catalyst surface. The residence time is longer. You see they come out slow. Amount is formed is much less. At higher temperature, everything come out much faster because the rate of reaction is much faster. The residence time of adsorbed species on catalyst is much shorter. All right. So as you can see here, as we increase the temperature, everything come out much faster. And as everything come out much faster, the profile becomes to stick together and we lose the resolution. So we always artificially to set a condition in such a way we can see adsorbed species product formation. And we also change the temperature. As you can see, you are an expert. You can see if we increase temperature, you are very sensitive. You can see everything move forward. Yeah. So there is one is artificially designed experiment to do in that manner. The other reason is certainly at higher temperature reaction is much faster, and the lifetime of adsorbed species on catalyst surface is much shorter.
Stephen, we both know that for the gasification, you're going to sacrifice the catalyst. There's no way you can recover the catalyst. And you did some experiment with nickel manganese, right? Have you tried other systems? because nickel mantle is difficult to dispose. You know the comments we get to the proposal. I'm asking you if you have tried any other catalyst for the gasification.
Okay. In the gasification, I agree with you. It's very difficult to separate the catalyst.
Impossible.
Okay. But I want to tell you, this company, the venture capitalists, they think it's easy. Probably they want to fool some people to track the money. All right? So they are trying to develop theory. All right? But I agree with you. It's difficult to separate catalysts. And we also tried copper catalysts. All right? Let me explain to you how we select the catalyst for gasification. In gasification, because Ohio coal is notorious for sulfur. They contain 3 to 5% sulfur here. So when we select the catalyst for gasification, we always want to select the catalyst which can resist to the sulfur poison.
Or collect sulfur.
Yeah.
Because copper is great.
Yeah, and copper is difficult to poison copper because copper sulfide is well known to be unstable at temperature above 470 degrees C. And in fact, they are in 1980, early 80 and late 70, there are people trying the gasification using copper catalyst, and we tried, we found out it worked. And in terms of nickel-based catalyst, we add the manganese, we add the molybdenum. If you look at literature, adding the molybdenum, adding the nickel and manganese, all those species help the nickel catalyst to resist the sulfur poison. And recently we crazy about magnesium oxide too, because I'm teaching the material science, and in material science book, the magnesium oxide has the highest boiling point. Highest melting point. So it's very stable, it can stabilize it. And magnesium oxide is also very good at activation of water. Right? That's your advisor, Rukenstein, published a review paper in the Advancing Catalysis, which is a big paragraph about magnesium oxide, how magnesium oxide activates water. So magnesium oxide could be a very good catalyst too, and that's the one we are testing now too.
We found that iron is good, right?
Iron
is very, very good.
Yeah. Iron is because of the rust furnace process, as you point out.
And it's very cheap to take the bulldozer basically down with it.
Yes. We tried a cereal, all right, and the rhodium cereals is a very good oxidation catalyst, and we couldn't get a partial oxidation going of rhodium cereal. We get all the oxidation. So the reason we tried rhodium alumina and rhodium cereal is because this catalyst was left over starting from the catalytic reduction of nitro oxide and CO. We do automobile catalyst study. And we do the partial oxidation of rhodium alumina, and later on we do the rhodium cereal. And on cereal, we pour oxygen in, then oxygen is oxidizing everything to CO. So rhodium cereal is a very good oxidation catalyst. So now recently we are trying the nickel cereals, nickel aluminum, and also want to try the Professor Davis' platinum series. So cereal is apparently is very active because of oxygen storage capability, and the oxygen in cereal seems to be oxidizing the catalyst, oxidizing dissolved CO and oxidizing methane compound form CO. So we couldn't stop the total oxidation in rhodium cereals catalyst.
Steve, when people think about the hydrogen economy, just generally speaking, a lot of people focus on the automotive industry. And just maybe you can help me generalize something. When you have solid oxide fuel cells, obviously temperature plays a major role. And so about 3-4 years ago, the automotive industries got together and decided, not to focus too much on the solid oxide fuel cells. Do you see that trend changing with different research focusing on lowering the temperature of the membrane, the conductive membrane for the ion conduction? I haven't looked into this lately, but has there been a strong push to lower the temperature so that the automotive industry also will go back and focus on the solid oxide fuel cells?
I think automobile industry lost interest in solid oxide fuel cells.
Yeah, about 3 years ago.
And there's a push in the solid oxide fuel cell community to push the temperature, the operation temperature down to below 750 degrees C. And the reason is we want to push down below 750 degrees C for the use of low-cost material because of stainless steel can survive at temperature below 750 degrees C. And automobile industry is not interested in the solid oxide fuel cell for, I thought, let me tell you what I'm thinking, and then I'll tell you some of my thinking is not right. The major reason why I think everybody agree here is the solid oxide fuel cell need to be heated up. So it takes a long time to heat it up because of math. Heat transfer is a slow process. So it takes too much time to heat it up. So you want to start an engine using solid oxide fuel cell, it takes a couple of minutes, and people cannot wait for like 3 minutes or hours to heat it up. So it's a slow process. If you heat up fuel cell too fast, this fuel cell just crack. So it's very difficult to avoid that problem. And another reason I thought is the vibration will cause the cracking of the solid oxide fuel cell. But in fact, the solid oxide fuel cell companies, they think they solve the cracking, the vibration problem, because now the one major application, one major push for solid oxide fuel cell application in automobile is in application of solid oxide fuel cell for truck. Yeah. And they say, all these trucks, when you go to the race area in this highway, all these trucks start their engine, and because they want to get air conditioning and heating, and they use the keep the engine going. So there are a good number of companies try to make a solid oxide fuel cell for truck. So when they're in the race area, they don't want to turn on their engine, they use solid oxide fuel cell. So there are companies try to commercialize solid oxide fuel cell as auxiliary powers for the truck. And NASA is interested in this commercialize this technology as auxiliary powers for the airplane. And in fact, NASA also has a very naive concept into using the solid oxide fuel cell as a major power for the airplane. And I thought those are nonsense, but they say it's their vision. So the automobile industry like to use the proton exchange membrane. Yeah.
So the trend hasn't changed?
No, haven't changed yet. And so the solid oxide fuel cell is the major application now is for the truck and also for hospital applications, for the auxiliary power application for emergency powers, and in the long run maybe used for the power generation. There's a company like United Technology, I don't want to change the name so many times, they have sold about 400 or 500 solid oxide fuel cell already, or worldwide, and through the government subsidiary. It's very, it requires very elaborate procedure to do a temperature following exhaustion to see how much water comes out. So it's possible to quantify it. It's not easy. Yeah, because if you want to quantify hydroxyl group, then you have to heat it up and kick the hydroxyl group out as water. And water, when water comes out, and you have to heat all the time, otherwise water will absorb on the tube, and you will miscount the water. So it's possible to do it, but it's not easy to do it.
Any other questions?
In your middle talk, middle part of your talk, conclusions between the drying and reforming, you mentioned potassium. What is the role of potassium? I noticed that in one of the conclusions.
Even the semiconductors, I think, originally.
Which one?
The semiconductors originally.
Partial oxidation enhanced.
Oh, no, that's the same thing.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. Good job. I don't know why they ended up with that. I'm sorry. I should move the K over there.
Now we know what elements you use for your reactors, right? Potassium.
I should move the K over. 773 in case you stay here. Sorry.
Any other questions on the floor? Let's thank Steve again for the inspiring presentation.